This is episode 17 of Pitchin' It with Ben. In this episode, I am joined by professional golfer Emily Gilbreth. Emily has played on the Symetra Tour, and we talk about her tour life experiences, her journey to professional golf, her obsession with the grind, elevating the women's game, and more. Thank you all for listening, and enjoy episode 17. So I am excited to be joined today by professional golfer since 2018, Symetra Tour player Emily Gilbreth. Emily, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, we've known each other kind of since like 2019, but we really haven't had an
Yeah.
opportunity to talk yet. So it's good to see you.
No. Yeah, you too. I know you were out at French Lick last year. And I didn't realize we're really close in age. I thought, I always think everyone's older than me. Um,
Well, especially in the golf industry, right? I feel like,
mhm.
especially the golf media, it it
Yeah.
feels kind of older. Not that people are old, not throwing shade at anybody,
No,
but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of people have thought that I'm older. I did notice that. So I was looking at some of like your stuff that I could Google about you,
Uh-oh.
and
Uh-oh.
there's nothing bad. It's all good stuff. At least I didn't dive that deep. I mean, I don't think there's anything bad.
Oh, okay, well, thank God. Not that there is anything, but
Yeah, because
what would
well,
you
I
ask me?
noticed that, let's see, you started at the University of Houston in
I did.
2013.
I did.
So yeah, we're like almost the same age. I think were you class of 2013, like high school class 2013?
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I go
Ah,
to college in 17.
me too. So we're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
same everything, except you're really good at golf and me not so much. So
Right.
why don't we start with you? Like, when did you start playing golf?
Oh man. So I mean, I started playing golf when I was 5. And I've been playing golf my entire life. I what's interesting I think about me is like I don't come from a golf family. Like at all. My dad and I actually started at the same time, and my dad got so into golf that he started working at a golf course on Saturdays. So he would be the starter, so we could get free balls and free rounds, free and play for free, basically. Um, so
That's
that's how I got
awesome.
started. Yeah.
That there's all these. Okay, I love the golf world because
Mhm,
there's so many unique stories and some stories like
mhm.
that. So, did it work like he just went to the like did someone invite him to the golf course, or did he just decide to go one day, or did you inspire like, "Hey, I want to go try this." How did that work?
A little bit. So, not to date myself anymore, but so when I was 5 years old, growing up as a little kid, my dad watched all sports, and he would watch golf even though he didn't play. And of course, he watched golf. It was the 2000s. Like Tiger was dominant. Everyone was obsessed with Tiger. Um, so one day we were sitting in the living room watching Tiger, and I said, Dad, I want to try that. And he goes, Yeah, 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 sure. So we do mini golf for like 2 or 3 times, and it's fine, whatever. And I guess apparently I said, No, Dad, I want to do real golf. And like it just started from there. He took me to the range. He started, listening during the lessons and then trying stuff at home. And then we would go out together. And then, it just turned into like every summer he's traveling with me to junior golf tournaments. And then, next thing I know, like we're looking at collegiate schools for me to go compete at. Um, so he's always been, I would say like I dragged him into it in a way.
Yeah. Okay. So this is for every child, for everyone that starts golf. I think there's different,
Hmm.
you know, little bit different journeys. So sometimes
Hmm.
a parent starts the child like, I
Hmm.
want my child to get started in some sort of sport. That's how a lot of us like get
Right.
started in, whether it's basketball or baseball or golf. And then at some point the child either really likes it and wants to keep doing it, or they want to try, or they don't like it. But
Right.
it sounds like you kind of instigated it all, and you liked it
Right.
right away. So like you were
Um,
hooked on it pretty quickly.
yeah, I do have like a complicated relationship with golf. And I do have a complicated relationship with my dad, which is fine. I would say I really didn't fall, it's crazy. Like I started when I was 5 and I really didn't fall in love with it until I was about 16 or 17 when I could like drive myself to practice. Um, and it kind of, there were a couple instances in there where I tried to quit and tried to walk away and I just couldn't do it. And then, when I got my car and I could drive myself and be in charge of my own practice schedule and, learning how to book yourself for tournaments and do all the logistics, like once I took ownership of it, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. And then even, when I got out of college and I'm trying to figure out everything professionally, even as stressful as it is, the second I show up to a tournament week and, I get to go play the practice round or like, see my friends or whatever, that's when that like love of golf rushes over me again. I love being competitive. I love seeing a different course every week. I love the travel. And I'm really I'm really addicted to the grind. Like
Yes.
the problem solving, how do I flush it better? How do I make more putts? Like I'm really addicted to the problem solving, the grind, the overcoming. Like that's my favorite part right there.
And the grind goes even, and I think this is why I was excited to talk to you, because the grind goes even beyond the golf course. And we can go ahead and talk about this right now. I was going to talk about it a little later, but let's talk
Sure,
about it right now. We're already here.
sure,
So,
sure.
you know, especially, and I say this all the time, like, I think we know
Mm-hmm.
this. Women in
Yeah,
sports are already like they're at a disadvantage.
right.
And women in golf, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you go turn professional,
Right.
there's a small percentage that they have it. Like
Do
either
really well. Uh-huh.
yes, they're right there.
Absolutely.
Either their game is like my friend would give me a hard time because I bring up Lydia Ko pretty often, but she is such a rarity, like winning an LPGA
Right.
tournament as an amateur at the age of 15. Okay,
Right.
well, not everyone's like that. Actually, no one ever no one ever has been like that.
Right.
But
That was the first. Yeah.
yeah,
First
so
with golf. Yeah.
most people go through this journey, and you have to find sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
You have lots of things that kind of it's a challenge in a lot of
Yep.
different ways.
Yep.
So you know, can you talk? Actually, there's a funny, not funny, but I noticed on your Instagram, golfpreneur.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that from somebody else. I'm trying to think, and I was just like, "Oh, that's perfect." So whoever I took that from, I apologize that I can't think of your name, but that was a really great word. Um, you talk about Lydia Ko, and so she came in second at the U.S. Girls when it was played at Lake Merced. And I was in that field, but I missed the cut. So that's kind of like what you're talking about of, you have golf. Golf is just this funny sport of like, well, one day it's your day, but until that day, you have to keep playing. If you're getting the right signs that you should still be in it, like, you're still being competitive, you're still shooting good numbers, you're leaving a couple strokes out there, it's like you have to keep going because you do not know when it's going to be your day. So you can't give up on it. And you're talking about too, like, women's sports are at a disadvantage for whatever reason. We could talk for 3 hours about why. um,
For sure.
um, which, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to, you see a lot of foreign players that get a ton of support, whether it's from their, country's teams or whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, the money piece is definitely difficult. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's just kind of the reality of things, you know?
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned you never know when it's going to be your day or
Yeah.
your week, for instance. And of course, I
Right.
think arguably most likely the best story in golf in 2020, Sophia Popov, like
Yep.
like she said that she was ready to quit golf. And that's not like that's a fairly common story. I think a lot of people like
Absolutely.
it's so tough to make it as a professional golfer. And just thinking, I think
Right.
about Q school, for instance, and I will talk to you about
Oh
Q school in
man.
a little bit. But like you
Yeah.
have over 300 players in those fields, like qualifying and it's stage one,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's like that's a lot of people that don't make it. Like there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that have a
Absolutely.
dream that are trying to get to it. And so Sophia, I love her story. Like she
Mhm.
was that whole process of like playing some Cactus Tour events, which is great, like
Mhm.
getting some experience and repetitions. In tournament plays, you're learning how to play in tournament conditions. But anyway, getting the
Right.
opportunity at a major, of all places though, at a major, putting it together. And
I don't want to say she's the blueprint, but like she is the blueprint. And my coach and I, we talk about that quite frequently about, when I'm having doubts of like, well, I played Symetra in 2019 and I was injured. And, sometimes I feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done that because I was injured and I wasn't at 100%. And I really wish someone had just told me to go home. And my coach will be like, no, 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 listen, like, look at Sophia Popov. Like, the experience that you gain is going to help you. You can't predict when. You just have to go and collect the data and put yourself in pressure situations and just keep readjusting and readjusting, and like don't give up hope. It's inside of you. You just have to keep going and keep going and keep going. And when he tells me that, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm on the right path. Like, just calm down a little bit, you're fine.
yeah, for sure.
um,
Another example, another fellow, I don't know how to say it, but Phoenix area resident, Mina Haragai, had probably the best season of her career in 2020.
okay.
This is her like 11th season on tour.
Mm-hmm.
At CME, she was the highest finishing American in the field. I think she finished fourth. So like
Yeah.
you start to it's if you have the motivation and you have the drive and you still like you want to do it, you never
Mm-hmm.
know when that moment will come. So I
Right.
guess putting yourself into positions to succeed, and I think this is something I wanted to talk to you about, is that
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago on your Instagram that
Yeah.
you will essentially be taking this year off from competing on like the Symetra Tour, correct?
Right. Right.
And but you have a job working full time at with the club fitter.
Yeah, so I work at Cool Clubs right now, which is really cool because they build custom equipment, and a lot of the technology that we use in our fittings is testing equipment that we give to the major manufacturers. So we build S3 machines for like Callaway and Titleist and stuff like that. And it just feels like every day I go to work, I'm learning something new about either building clubs or fitting, or equipment or whatever that I don't think I would have been exposed to as a player. So, that's exciting for me to, get a crash course on like how the equipment works and how to improve your game. And I'm trying to, at first it's hard to say, hey, I'm going to take a break. I'm not going to compete. I'm going to shift my focus here, because I think a lot of athletes would, be depressed about it. And I definitely was, because I want to compete. Why would I ever step out? But I think, taking the time to gain some more knowledge, I think that's going to help me going forward, you know?
Yeah. Well, and not to, you know, bring up like Mina again, but in Mina's
Mm-hmm.
case, like that break last year, which as
Mm-hmm.
awful as it was, okay, the pandemic is terrible, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel my condolences to everyone that's been affected by it, which is pretty much everyone in
A
some
lot
way.
of people.
But
Mm-hmm.
that gave Mina an opportunity to kind of change her swing, make some more improvements on her swing that she, because when you get into like tournament once the season starts, it's so difficult to make
It's hard
any
to make.
adjustments of
Yeah,
any substance. You can make tiny
it's
tweaks.
impossible. Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe if you needed to change your grip, but if you're trying to like change your plane position or impact position, I mean, you just don't, at least in my case, because I have all these chronic injuries, like I'm not going to be able to get those reps in and then play tournaments, like there's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, so so this year off, if you don't mind discussing it, what are some of the
sure.
thoughts? What are some of the thoughts that went in like behind that choice or decision?
Yeah. So, I talked, me and my coach, we talk about this a lot. Part of it was I got a shoulder injury in 2019. I played a full season on it because I'm super stubborn, and I thought I could do it. And then, I spent most of the pandemic rehabbing, but I didn't quite get my rehab done. And so it's kind of at that place of, well, I'm going to be 26 this year, so I'm not going to be covered by my parents' insurance anymore. Money is obviously an issue, to be quite honest about it. And I was like, well, I live in Phoenix, which is like golf mecca. Like, let's go find a golf industry job. You might not be practicing, but you'll still be in it and you'll still be thinking about it every day. And let's just like actually take a break and see what happens. I mean, I've been competing since I was 5 years old. Like 1 year off it's not going to go away in a year, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, the thing that I want most is to be on the LPGA. And if my body can't recover, then that's not going to happen. Like I have to be reliant on my body. And so that's where my head is at. And again, like I don't see it as a negative. It's not going to go away in a year. I'm still going to know how to swing the golf club, when I pick it up in 3 months. It's not going anywhere.
Right. Right. And I well, not to necessarily name like motivational speaker. I think sometimes I'll go through YouTube phases where it's like just wanting to hear some words. But
Of encouragement, yeah.
words of encouragement, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're young. You're young. Like at this
Right.
point, like even if it sometimes feels like
It sometimes doesn't feel like it at
it
all.
doesn't feel like it at all. And like in golf
No.
years, if you think about your golf years, you have spent
I'm
a
like
lot of
45.
time. You spent a lot of time on golf courses.
Yeah.
But I really admire that decision to really sit down and think about a way to move forward that's going to, I think, give you the best opportunity to reach your goals, right?
I mean, I didn't come to it overnight. Like it was, a culmination of months and months of assessing the situation and just being like, well, we're in a pandemic and, now is not the time to hit the gas. Like now is the time to kind of be conservative and wait for a better opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, I don't want to have all these other player comparisons, but you're talking about your chronic injury kind of was with your shoulder. It's the
Right.
shoulder that's kind of give you some issues.
Well, so the shoulder I did recently, and then I have like back and hip mobility issues because I've been playing golf since I was 5. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like when I was 5, 6, 7, and 8 years old, like we were being very mindful of movements or anything like that. It was just like, my dad would drag one of those giant bins of balls from the cart barn, and he would just slap it in front of me and be like, "Okay, I'll see you in 4 hours," and I would just, hit balls. So
Oh my goodness.
I'm fighting that now a little bit.
I got you. Well, what came to mind was Michelle Wee, where like
Yep.
we know that everyone that watches golf, especially women's golf, we know that she's had this wrist issue that's been bothering her, and of course she was taking time off, and then she had a baby, which congrats, Michelle. I mean, you've been a mom for a little while now, but even more, I'm not relating this to the pandemic. Like one is an amazing thing. One really sucks. But
Right.
that kind of like forced time off, I'm doing air quotes, Um, who know? And I don't know what her plans are as far as returning to professional. I think that she's expressed she plans to return. She's been still, I think, a member at Lake Merced now, and she's
Oh, sweet.
out there
Yeah.
playing. But maybe that's that break that she had will give her body some time to heal and figure out the best way possible for her to move forward. So similarly to
Yeah.
you, maybe you find, just figure out this balance that'll help you
Little
moving forward.
something. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like once you're in that competitive arena, like it's so difficult to just like tap out and be like, yeah, I'm done. And it's like, you see that with Michelle Wee, you see that with Tiger Woods. Some people are like, well, why the hell is Tiger still playing? It's his fifth back surgery. Like, doesn't he have enough money? It's like, no, because that competitive component that golf provides, like, you don't find that easily in other areas of life. Like, think about the time it took for Tiger Woods to become Tiger Woods. Like, you think he's just gonna hang it up?
Yeah, for real. Oh my gosh. I mean, especially with any I could talk about Tiger all day also. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I have this beautiful Torrey pine.
Oh, is that a Torrey Pines pine cone?
It is.
That thing is huge.
It is. Oh, and my Torrey Pines towel. Of
Nice.
course, like when I visited, I had to because of the 2008 U.S. Open. But
Nice.
you know, you know, what he did in 2019 or the last few years, overcoming any of those surgeries. To be honest, like to come
Mm-hmm.
back and win. So yeah, it's amazing and remarkable. Go back to when you were like you said 16, 17 is when you really started to really love
Yeah.
golf. You can start to drive, control your own schedule kind of thing. Is that
Yeah.
when college golf started to be a thought, or had you thought
Mm.
about it a little before?
College, I think I kind of realized I wanted to be a collegiate athlete when I was like, 10 or 11. 16 is like a really heavy recruiting period. And I lucked into going to the University of Houston. And it was just, it was the coolest experience to be from Houston, to be a part of the first women's program, and to like represent, Houston. I love that city. I know I live in Phoenix now, but like I miss it every day. And that, it was cool. It was really great experience to do that. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I was looking at some of your statistics there at the University of Houston. So,
Yeah.
you started out your freshman year, I think your
Mhm.
scoring average was 78.24. Okay.
Yeah, a little high.
Okay.
Right.
Well, but no, but going
Yeah,
into college golf, it is a different experience, I think. Well, I mean, you can
for
attest
sure.
to that, the adjustment
Yeah.
from playing high school golf to college golf.
It it was a huge transition. Like we weren't competing as a team. There were three of us that would go play as medalists. And those 5:30 workouts three times a week, that was rough. That was rough.
I remember not to make it about myself, but like when I was in high school, I played baseball, and I had every
Okay.
thought like up until my junior year, even through my junior year, I was like, I'm going to play professional baseball. Like that was my goal. I mean, I
Mhm.
played varsity baseball since I was a freshman. It's like I was pretty good, but then, well, golf happened. We have a friend that moved to town, and then asked me to play golf, and then all of a sudden, I was like, well, I was hooked. I could not get away from it. So like my passion, like I still love baseball, but golf just kind of overtook things.
Yeah.
Um, but then like I had some offers to some smaller colleges to play baseball after my senior year, but I got to
Mhm.
thinking about that process of like
Yeah.
even at a smaller school, like Division 2 school or Division 3
Mhm.
school or NAIA, like you're still the work that
Yeah.
that
No,
goes into
it's
it.
stressful. Yeah, it's really stressful.
Um,
It's a management like circus, you know.
yeah. Well, I know, but don't know. Like, I'm kind of
Mhm.
glad that I didn't. Not like I love to compete. I'm a super competitive person too, but my passion wasn't still there. But so anyway, get back to you. So that's 78.24 average your freshman year. And then by your
Yeah,
senior year, you were down to 73.2. So like
yeah,
a 5 shot improvement,
yeah,
which in golf, like we know like people are in golf. When you break 100 the
right,
first time, that's a big deal. And 90 the first time, it's a big deal. 80,
right,
very few people do that. So to
right,
get down your average down to 73, nearly, I mean, a stroke away from par on average, that's a big
right,
deal. When
right.
did you start thinking about professional golf?
Um, I don't know. More my senior year. And I saw some statistic the other day. I don't know if this is true, but it's something like less than 1% of all USGA handicaps are single digit. Which I'm like, oh my god. Um, definitely my senior year, it had kind of been on my radar of like, well, this would be a really cool pursuit. Not knowing not knowing what that entailed, but just being like, yeah, I would love to play golf for the rest of my life. Like, this would be great if they would give me money to do this. Um, Definitely. I didn't realize that I improved by 5 shots. I didn't even know that.
Well, statistics are one of those like I love them. Obviously, like being in sports or being an athlete myself previously, like they can be a little
Mm-hmm.
misleading sometimes, but they
And
do.
baseball is very stat heavy.
It is very stat heavy, yeah. But
Yeah.
but they do tell some pretty cool stories. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
talking to Kelly Tay the other day and like, hey, did you know you ranked 17th on the tour in birdies in 2020? She's like, what?
She probably had no idea.
What? Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for letting me know because like that's amazing. But but yeah, I mean, and that to me, that's a pretty big deal. So you go to I didn't see your name on the LPGA Q school LPGA Q school in 2017.
Yeah. So this is a good story. 2017. Yeah. So it's weird. Like, the universe is weird. So 2017 was my first year at tour school. I didn't get out of stage one. I actually missed playing the weekend by 1 shot. Um, but if you look at that week in 2017, that is the same week as Hurricane Harvey. Um,
Oh,
and I remember, you know, a lot of things happened. So, I'm there in Palm Springs early for the event. My my caddy at the time had just arrived. I get this call from my mom, and she's like, hey, there's this hurricane. I think I'm going to fly out a day early, if that's cool with you. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Not really paying attention. Um, and then the rest of the week, it's like, that's all you could see on the news. I've got friends texting me, calling me. It was impossible to focus. Um,
I
and
can't imagine.
unfortunately, it was bad, and unfortunately, we lost our house. But no one in my family was hurt or anything like that. And of course, I was upset that I didn't get to play the weekend. I didn't make it to stage two. I have no status. But in the grand scheme of things, it was like, I'm alive. I have my family. I get another chance at it. It's okay. Um, and I get a little shaky talking about it now, because that was such a big week in my in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, in your life. Like that's unreal. Well, first of all,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I can't imagine that week. Like how could you focus on golf? Like with
Oh,
the other
it was impossible. And I was just like, if this is the worst thing that happens, like all things considered, I got within 1 shot of the cut. If this is the worst thing that happens to me in my entire career, like, we're good. you know?
yes. Glass half full. You're
Yeah,
thinking on the positive side of things. So
trying to.
so you
Yeah.
get let's see. So you go to Q school again in 2018. Can you just talk
Mhm.
about because maybe your mind is a little more less
Yeah,
distracted by
a little calmer.
2018?
Yeah,
Yeah, a little
for
calmer.
sure. For
Um,
sure.
talk about the process of Q school for you. It's like you're in Palm Springs, you're playing
Mhm.
at least part of that process. You're playing at a golf course that's, hosts a major LPGA major championship
Mhm.
every year.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
over 300 competitors in the field, like I mentioned earlier. Like it's what are your thoughts when you walk up when you first get there?
I'm trying to think. 2018. Yeah, the first thing that sticks out is the heat. Um, we had some pretty gnarly. I think the first year I went there, it was right around 120. Um, yeah, which is
Uh,
so like you get done off of 18 and you drive to Walgreens and like buy all the Pedialyte. Like you don't even go hit balls, putt, nothing. You go rehydrate. My mom couldn't even like make it all the way around. I think she did 6 holes and then left. Um, which I don't blame her at all.
yeah. Oh man.
Like the heat's the worst part, and then what you tell yourself can be either good or bad. You know.
Yeah. Do you
Mhm.
remember? Okay, so I guess 2017 was your first attempt at Q school.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
do you remember your feeling on that first tee?
Oh, I was probably a nervous wreck the first year I went. The first time you do that, especially like if you've come off of college and then tour school is the end of August, so you just got out of school in May. That's probably like the biggest competitive event that you've been in, and if you didn't make it to nationals or regionals or whatever. And it can be a little bit intimidating. Like you show up for your tea time on the first day, and there's like 150 people all warming up, and they're all, you see the tour bags and you see the professional caddies, and you're just like, oh my god, this is not, we're playing pro. This isn't college anymore. But the second time around, I was like, oh, I know this course really well. It suits my eye. I just have to go out there and hit fairways and hit greens and look at every putt like I'm trying to make it. And that, just refocusing like that and just not being distracted by the environment. I think that's like the biggest piece of advice that I could give to anyone doing it the first time.
Yeah, I imagine that we did with my friend Kent. We do a podcast, the Night Tea
Hmm.
podcast, and we did an episode about
Yeah.
Q series and Q school and Q
Hmm.
series and that whole process. And like everyone that's gone through it, it is such a
Yeah.
unique like. I mean, you can't get through, especially that first time. I don't think you can really get through it without feeling some sort of like, wow,
It's
like,
very personal. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
like I'm here.
Yeah.
So let's go to 2019. You're playing
Hmm.
on the Symetra Tour.
Right.
So what are some of your first thoughts? And I asked Nikita Arjun, I think another
Hmm.
local Phoenix person.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Um,
used to practice together a little bit.
I got you. Awesome.
Hmm.
I asked her, I want to ask you too, like what if you had a moment where you were like, whoa, like a whoa moment, like
On the
this,
Symetra Tour.
yeah.
um. Yeah. I think my first like low moment was probably when we went up to Harris, Michigan, and played in the casino event, because most of us stay on property, and then you get done and you like hang out in the casino, and then that golf course is just in immaculate shape, um, and that's my favorite tour event,
Yeah.
is that one. Yeah.
So and I tried to make this so like help spread this message so much because I think the Symetra Tour is so underappreciated
Oh,
about like
absolutely.
how well first like for many different reasons, and I know that you could talk about a lot of them, but for one, just the competitiveness of it. It
Yeah.
doesn't get enough credit for how talented, like, of course there's a big range of skill level, but
Hmm.
everyone is good.
The talent runs deep. Yeah. 100%.
You have players that have played on the LPGA. I think you even end up with some LPGA tour winners that kind of
Yep.
find their way back on the Symetra Tour, and it's deep. Like, can
Yep.
you? And then on top of that, you have all of the other, which do want to talk to you about the parts that make it even more tough, such as like travel and
Oh man. Mhm.
that kind of
Mhm.
grind, because we talked about the grind
Yeah.
earlier. I've heard some
Yeah.
stories, but like, can you share some of your experiences there?
Oh. Oh man, like I put close to 30,000 miles on my car for 15 events because I drove it to every single event. Um, because once you start thinking about, oh, and I didn't hire a caddy my first year, which I think if I get another opportunity at it, I definitely need to hire a caddy. Because if you're looking at doing Symetra, so you're looking at managing all the logistics yourself for the most part. So you're looking at travel, hotels, booking a caddy, how do I get there, what do I eat, where do I eat, when do I work out? When do I play my practice round? Okay, I missed the cut. How do I get to the next week? Okay, I'm playing the weekend. Do I need to move my flight? Just all these things come into play. Not to mention, I was gone for most of the year, but I'm still paying rent here in Phoenix. So, managing all of that, it gets very stressful very quickly.
Yeah. On top of that, trying to play
Compete.
the best golf that you possibly
Yeah,
can.
that's before you even like tee it up. That's just that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you still have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday that you have to manage. And you can look at my stats from the first year. I had a crash course in it. Like I one of the reasons why I want to go back is because I don't feel like I played to my potential like at all. Um, but I'm thankful that I had that year because it made me tougher. It showed me what the competition is, and it really highlighted like what I need to work on. If I had gone out and killed it, well, that wouldn't help me, would it?
Well, that's an argument too about Q series, for instance. By
Right.
going to the 8-round format,
Mhm.
it's, 4 rounds. Like, professional, anyone that makes it to Q series or formally staged, like stage 3, you did have
Right.
to play well to get there. But
Absolutely.
with 4 rounds, you can kind of put together a couple of you could have a really hot day. Like, you could have your day while you're there,
Right.
and
Right.
your day may not really be, it's not quite expect like what you should expect once you're playing a
It's
typical
not,
week to
yeah,
week.
like a summation of your season. Yeah, for
So
sure.
going to that 8 round, it kind of, I think, shows who is most ready for the next, like, for the LPGA, I guess. It's
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
it's a good indicate. Same thing with Symetra Tour. I do think Symetra does a good job of. I mean, if you go to a Symetra event, which I encourage people, if hopefully, like, if there's fans,
Yeah, you've been
spectators
to a
allowed.
lot of them. Yeah.
Well, not as many as I would like, though, to be honest. Like, when I went to
Really.
French Lick, that was only
Mhm.
my second one.
Oh, okay.
And
I feel like I've seen you a lot more though. Is that strange?
maybe just like through Instagram, I don't know. But I
Possibly,
wish.
yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, there was where I live in Indiana, like, that's a couple hour drive for me. I went to Cincinnati, which is only a couple hour drive for me.
Mhm.
Um and I was shocked. Like, first of all, like, I felt like I was getting like special treatment because, like, at an LPGA event, I'm not getting a golf cart and I'm not getting some of these
Oh,
other things. It's like I'm about to
yeah,
walk.
yeah,
Like, I will usually
yeah.
walk a golf course like two or a little more than two
Okay.
times during a day at
Oh, okay.
an LPGA
Yeah.
event. And then at
Yeah.
Symetra, it's like, oh, here's a cart. Like, oh, okay. Um,
Oh, nice. So they hook it up for you a
they
little
hooked
bit.
it, they hooked it up for me. It felt a little special.
That's nice.
But no, but I felt good, but simultaneously bad. I was like, yo, get some people out here covering this event. We need some more
Yeah.
exposure. So yeah, what I was saying was, if you can get to a Symetra event and it's safe and everyone, like, you're allowed to, please
Mhm.
go to a Symetra Tour event.
Yeah. Yes.
I know the players are appreciate it, and also like you're gonna see amazing golf.
Right. And I think, what I've seen of the people that do come out, there's a lot more like player spectator interaction because there's no like pressure on us, like we don't have to go do like media interviews directly after or like have, we're not like handled or anything. Like we're just right there. And I think that's really cool. I've definitely seen a lot of dads like bring their young girls out, and it's cool because they get to, I mean, we're like right there. You get to ask us anything you want.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot more room for, player spectator interaction than on the LPGA.
for sure. And also for Mr. For handicap out there that
Mm-hmm.
thinks that he can win on the LPGA tour.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great opportunity to see how there's not a chance you
Oh
could
my
win.
goodness. This is another like 3-hour topic. If I had $1 for every comment I saw that was like, oh, why do they only play from this yardage, or oh, they should play deeper. It's like I feel like Symetra Tour setups are really difficult. Like they don't make it easier for us at all. You see some very difficult pins. You see, there's a lot of difficult shots into greens, difficult tee shots. And then it's like you go and you look at the PGA Tour, and some of their par fours are under 400 yards, or their par fives are like 520, and you're like, wait a second, we're playing par fours that are like 420, or maybe 440 in some cases, and then our par fives are 520, but I only hit it 250. So what are you saying? I just feel like the way that people perceive it is backwards. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've had some great conversations with some caddies about this.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you have like the setup, the course setups. Like when you look at you compare them, like you said, driving distance. If you,
Yeah.
and I don't know the exact number, maybe you would know. Like you've kind of into this part of the industry a little bit, but knowing what is it like if you did the ratio compared to the PGA Tour, essentially the LPGA or Symetra, you're playing like 8,000 yard courses or something. Like the PGA Tour would be if you set it up
Right.
the same.
At 8,000 yards. Yeah. And this is what I've been saying for a long time is like, I love the idea of a mixed tournament, but in order to do that, you need to find tee box. Like thinking that women should play where the men play is, I'm sorry, it's idiotic. Like it doesn't make sense to me. So, because what does it have to prove? Like, long story short, just say you hate women. Like, let's just get that out of the way. If you were going to have a tournament where you have both the LPGA and the PGA together, you need to find a tee box where the average player from each group, so from the PGA and the LPGA Tour, I see that you should make it to where they have the same club in their hand going into a green. So, like, if I'm going to hit an eight iron, and you should be hitting an 8-iron, not a pitching wedge, because it's still not like the ratio still isn't there.
Right.
Like the PGA Tour would still have an advantage if I was hitting an 8-iron and somebody from the PGA Tour is hitting a pitching wedge. Well, they're gonna knock it closer every single time. Like they have
Yeah.
faster swing speeds, faster ball speeds. They can hit a pitching wedge like what on average like 150, 160,
Yeah. It's
something
growing,
ridiculous like that.
going
You know?
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a good discussion with someone the other day about this and like how okay. And I did want to talk to get a few more things because I know you have an appointment this afternoon. But um like things that we can do to elevate the women's game.
Yeah.
And kind of knowing a little bit about your background, I know you're passionate about this. And I think anyone that has a mom, a sister, a daughter, like everyone, basically everyone should be passionate about
Right.
this.
Right.
But it's not quite at that level yet. But one of the things that we can do, I think that would be good is a mixed team event. But
Mm-hmm.
figuring out, like you said, this is the thing, making it so that is as fair as possible and figure out a way to really highlight how good the women are, because
Right.
we were talking about Bryson and Envy. So you like
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like on two different sides of the spectrum. Yeah.
two totally
They
different
play
sides
golf
of the
very
spectrum.
differently. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Right.
And how in a match, like if you had it like it'd be really tough with Bryson because he keeps going up and up and up, like how far he can hit it. So like where is this tee box at? To make
Right.
it similar
But
to Envy.
yeah. But he's one of the he's one of the longer hitters on tour. And if you're gonna have a co-ed event, like you're not gonna make it equitable for every single player. That's just you don't even see that like on the Symetra the LPGA tour. I'm an average hitter. I get out hit all day. That doesn't bother me. Because it really comes down at the professional level. It comes down to course management, managing your emotions, and how well you putt that day. Like, so what? Bryson can hit it like what 340 now.
Something, yeah.
Something
Something like that.
stupid. Like he would be 100 yards in front of me. Like, okay, so what? Like, um, you're not gonna get it to where I don't think you're gonna get it to where Bryson and Envy have the same club in their hands. I will say that.
Yeah. It was a good conversation though, because I was just thinking about like when you watch NB is one of my favorite players to watch.
Okay.
Even though
Mhm.
she's like well, you're just not gonna see the club breaks or the fist pumps. Like either way, like you're not gonna
Right.
see either side of that. And I was like,
Right.
I think that if somehow like or maybe had that as a team, Bryson and somebody, NB and somebody,
Mhm.
and seeing NB putt and the use of her hybrids and her woods, but watching her putt, like outside of Tiger, she's literally the best putter I've ever seen. And I think that's something that does get said in the golf world.
Mhm.
We get said a lot, like NB, maybe the greatest putter ever, greatest women's
Right.
putter ever, whatever. But
Right.
it doesn't really doesn't get seen. Like how do you if you are able to men's women's, obviously there's
Mhm.
that distance difference. How far you
Right.
hit it off the tee, how far you hit your irons, etc. But once you get on
Right.
the greens, everyone is like on that level playing field.
Pretty standard. Yeah.
And then you could see how great like see how great NB is. And
Right.
a lot of the women like but I would love to see NB just like tear apart a PGA Tour courses.
Oh, it'd be
So on
great.
the greens, yeah.
I would pay money for it. Are you kidding me?
Oh, bulls. The other thing I thought about too is like through the course of a round, like obviously like Bryson he can obviously do amazing things, but
Right.
he also has some blow up pulls in him, like some high numbers. And
That's what I'm saying.
I
Yeah.
can't see Envy having that in her. Like obviously like I'm sure that
Right.
she has like an 8 or 9 in her career, but I feel
Sure.
like
Everyone does, to
everyone
be honest.
does. But
Yeah.
it's hard for me to picture like a situation where it happens because
Mhm.
like she just doesn't make mistakes. Whenever she does, she's not gonna try to like, hit a hook out of the rough, draw out of the rough, downhill
Right.
lie, over water 3 times in a row or
Right.
something. Not throwing shade at
Right.
Bryson. Don't come at me, Bryson, but
But I mean, those shots come into play more when you have players that swing the club faster. Like
yeah.
you can, the faster you swing the club, the more you can manipulate the ball, and you look at that and you go, oh yeah, I can do it. Even if it's like a 20-25% chance of it being successful, like you know that's in your repertoire, you're gonna try it. And so I see where Bryson's head is at.
Yeah.
He knows he's capable of doing it. It's like the Greg Norman complex, right? Like you know that you're capable of doing it, and like how dare you say that I can't do it? I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Even if he does make a 9, like who cares? He's like he's Bryson DeChambeau. It doesn't matter.
That's true. And there's probably like 3 par 4s that he could drive and get those shots
And like make
back.
up for it, like
Yeah.
I see where his head's at.
Yeah, for sure. I don't blame him too much for that. Um okay, so let's go a few things about you, some more like little quicker questions. So,
Sure.
what are some things that you enjoy doing off the golf course?
Um, oh man. I've been a really passionate cook for a long time. I'm like obsessed with reading recipes and, watching people make food. And um, Gordon Ramsay is like one of my favorite people, even though I've never met him. Um,
So you
so
were a
yeah.
pre-pandemic cook. Because
Oh yeah.
a lot of people got
Yeah.
into cooking, which is great, but you were a
Right.
pre-pandemic cook. Okay.
Like since I was like 14 or 15, like I've
Wow.
been my dad was a really my dad's a really accomplished like home cook because my grandmother instilled it in him at a very young age. Um, so I learned. So she taught him how to cook, and then he taught me how to cook from a young age, like pulling me into the kitchen. Here, chop this. Here, fry that. This is how we make a roux. This is how we, reverse sear a steak, stuff like that. So yeah, I was a pre-pandemic cook, um, but I guess I guess we're still in the pandemic.
Yeah.
I kind of took up tie dyeing like a little bit, um, and that was my big like pandemic project, was learning how to do that.
Shout out Prism Dyes.
Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate it. It's more than a little thing. Like I'm kind of trying to roll it into a business slowly.
Yeah,
I've
give
had some
yourself some credit
success.
here.
Yeah. No, yeah, I've been tie dyeing like socks and golf towels and shirts for friends, and I actually did a vending like art walk event last month, which was great. To be in
Awesome.
downtown Phoenix and be immersed in the art community a little bit. It's super fun doing that.
Those environments can get kind of addicting. Like I do similar stuff with my pottery.
Yeah, you do pottery. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool to be amongst other. I mean, especially your first time. I know how it went. You can have like the maybe things. My personal experience. Well, some people will buy. You sell some things, and then you have a lot of people be like, "Oh, this is so cool," and they'll talk to you about how it's so cool, and they're like, "All right, have a good day," and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
"But you just talked to me for." You said I was so cool, but why didn't you buy anything?
You're just
But
like, wait a second. Yeah.
but it's all
Yeah.
good.
No,
Like it's all love.
yeah.
It's
No, I mean, like, that's how the art community is. Like, I think, I'm doing it is I love doing it, and I love people's reactions to it. Whether I make money from it or not, that's a moot point. Like, of course, we would love to make money from everything, right? But fusing like capitalism and your passions, sometimes you just kind of have to like let the capitalism part not dictate your happiness too much,
uh, that's true. I saw
which is
someone
difficult.
tweet the other day like I decided not to turn my hobby into a job or something, or decided not to
Mhm.
try to make profit off my hobby or one of their new hobbies. It's like, yeah, that's true.
Right.
Like, because I did feel that at first with ceramics, it was totally just something I love to do. Then when I
Mhm.
started selling it, like, I mean, I've sold quite a few things now, and I still enjoy it, but I'll definitely hit points where I get like burned out. So it's like when you
Yeah.
get switch from hobby to job, it's like finding you have to find that balance. I think if we talk about
Uh,
golf, that can happen too for sure. Professional
oh yeah.
golfers, you're like
Oh yeah.
it's a job at the end of the day. Like it really is a job. It's a game. It's a
Right.
sport. Everyone, you're playing it for a reason. Mostly,
Right.
usually because you loved it or you do love it.
Right.
But sometimes it just
It gets, yeah. It'll
gets
get
tough.
there for sure. For sure. Yeah, I definitely don't suggest going out for 6 week stretches or anything longer than three, honestly.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, that's what I learned pretty quick from my first year is like, you know, just because you get into the event doesn't always necessarily mean you should play
Oh, okay. And then this
because of
is
that.
a flashback to a little bit ago in the interview. But I wanted to ask you that the biggest
Yeah.
lesson you learned. So 2018. Let's see, your rookie year was 2019, or technically it was 2018.
I played like one event. I played Cactus 2017 when I got out of school, and then I I got into one event at the end of the season in 2018, which was Garden City, Kansas. And then I got full status in 2019. And I was doing some preseason stuff in March, and I sublexed my left shoulder. And I thought, this is like March of 2019. I have full status on Symetra. I just injured myself. And I was like, well, I didn't fully dislocate it, so I should be fine. And I wasn't.
Okay. So the question is, what was your biggest lesson, or maybe one or two of your biggest things you learned in 2019, or from your first full season on tour?
Yeah. What I'm kind of trying to live by now is like, if my body is screaming at me because I'm in pain, like don't ignore that. Like go take care of that first, and then figure out if you're going to play or not. Like, don't show up to the week and be like, oh, my shoulder hurts, I wonder if I'll make it this week. Like, no, show up knowing that you're solid, and don't like try to Hail Mary it. Like, stop doing that.
That's some pretty good advice. But isn't it's so tough, like, again, not being a professional athlete, but I imagine that, like you said, you even went through a 6-week stretch of you played 6 straight weeks.
Oh, Ben, I did more than that.
During the time you're also injured, though.
Like I said, mistakes were made. I really wish that I had a more solid team around me, but at the time I didn't, and that's how it goes, and it's okay. I really ran myself ragged in 2019. I really hit it hard because I was sick of playing on mini tours. I was finally on a real tour with like real competitive golf courses and great competition, and I was just chomping at the bit to go.
Yeah.
And I went.
Yeah. So I don't blame you. Like, it's one of these things, I talk to my friends and family, like everybody, about it, but you can't you can't know something until you know something. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. You have to go through some things, unless there's someone close that can advise you. But like you said, like, not everyone has the benefit of that. That's just kind of the reality. You kind of have to go through some things. So you have a lot of things to, like, you're prepared now. Mentally, though, you can make a better run at things if and when you get that next opportunity. So I'm
definitely in a different place. Yeah.
That's great. What is something about Emily that may surprise people? Like a skill or a talent or something else?
I don't know. I know too many random facts. Like, I spend way too much time on the internet. And I just know, like, the other day, my coworker, so we're having this debate at work whether the coffee from the left pot or the right pot is better. And so left pot gets coffee beans. So we grind them and put them in the left pot, and the right pot gets the pre-ground Dunkin'. And I told my coworker, I was like, well, the right pot sucks because you're putting those pre-ground Dunkin' beans in there and they have no acidity because they've just been sitting there. And she was like, how do you know that? And I was like, I have no idea. I just do. Like, I'm sorry. It comes out sometimes.
What is your motivation, and then what are some of your goals, like, moving forward?
I mean, obviously, I want to play on the LPGA Tour. That's kind of been an unspoken thing for about a decade now. But one of my goals that has really emerged in the past 5 years is I just want to be, I want to be physically healthy and mentally healthy. That's a really big part, making sure that I'm mentally sound and like taking enough breaks for myself and really taking care of myself. That's kind of become the forefront for, the past 3 years. Cause, like I said, I really ran myself ragged in 2019. And I really pushed myself, and I feel like I'm still kind of recovering. And so doing that, and then just making sure, like, that whatever I choose to do, I'm happy, I'm truly enjoying doing, you know?
Yeah. I love that.
Like if I wake up one day and I decide like, you know, I don't want to do this grind anymore, being okay, like walking away, you know?
Yeah.
Like not banking my identity on it to where it becomes uncomfortable or like unhealthy, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. That's great. You know what it reminds me of is another Houston native. I should know these facts, but it just reminds me of the Beyonce song when she talks about at the beginning. It was one of her pageants that she was at as a kid, right? And they asked her like what do you want to be in life or something, and she says,
Yeah.
I want to be happy, like
Yep.
something along those lines.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember that a lot. By the way, shout out to Beyonce because
Yeah.
she's like the queen. The other, there's Queen NB and Queen B, Beyonce. um, do you have any superstitions?
Superstitions. Oh God, not that I'm aware of, but if you were like with me during a tournament week, you'd probably be like, oh, that's weird. I don't know.
like special marking on your golf ball. Everyone usually has a unique marking, not necessarily superstition, but
Yeah.
like do you have to have like 2 T's in your pocket at all times, or
No, not like that. I just like my stuff to be clean. That's the only thing. Like, you know, I need my stuff clean at least, you know, for the first round and everything. I'm not like a 2 T's in my pocket kind of person. I had a little, I had a UH like valuables pouch that I would keep all my tees and all my ball markers in. But I lost it. So I'm like looking for a replacement. And I didn't realize like how much of a safety blanket that was for me for a long time. So I'm still grieving that loss, you know?
I'm sorry. Just like
okay.
At a tournament sometime, or just not sure?
Yeah, I lost it at Longbow when we played there earlier this year, and it just never turned up. And I was like, that's so weird because it says UH Golf on it. So like, who would want that, you know?
Anyone listening that happens to have this, please return it to Emily.
Yeah, if you have that, DM me on Instagram because I really want it back.
Okay, few rapid fire questions.
All right, let's go.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh God. I don't know. Replenishment? I don't know.
Replenishment?
Yeah, we're like, oh, I'm like, you know, my glass is empty. Like, oh, now it's not. You know, oh, my wallet's out of money. Oh, no, it's not. Like,
yeah. Oh, the wallet. I like that one a lot. Yo, and being in the desert too, just being like your water bottle always having water.
Yeah, like Death Valley, let's go.
That'd be clutch. Okay. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Sunset. Are you a twilight golfer?
I'm definitely not a morning person. So.
Okay. You're now in the desert, but what's your favorite season?
Like summer, spring, summer type, somewhere in there. I don't like the cold either.
Anytime. Didn't you have some snow recently?
Yeah, we did. It was crazy.
That was wild. Oh my god.
Yeah, like Four Peaks is covered in snow right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if you had the choice, never 3-putt again or never miss a fairway?
Well, I already don't miss fairways, so I would never 3-putt again.
Ooh. Okay. You know,
that's not a flex. Like, ask all of my caddies. I swear to God.
No, but like, you know, I mean, that's an easy choice. Then you already know what you're good at, so
yeah.
eliminate the 3 putts forever. That sounds good to me.
Oh yeah.
Well, Emily, thank you for talking. And for people that are
course, Ben.
listening, where can they follow you on it, like on Instagram or Twitter or?
Yeah, I don't tweet. I stay away from Twitter, but you can find me on Instagram. You can type in Emily Gilbreth or at MEG Golf. I also have a tie-dye company. If you're interested in checking that out, that's at Prism Dyes. And that's all I have to plug. Yeah, dude.
Emily, thank you so much, and best of luck with the rest of this year. And hopefully we get to see you back playing some competitive rounds in 2022. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Ben. It was really great talking to you.
Yes, take care. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to episode 17 of Pitching It with Ben. If you liked what you heard, please like, rate, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me on social media. I will do my best to get back to you all. And that's all I have today. See you all in episode 18.